We've toured weapons, castles, and even the rodents that ruled them, but how did medieval people actually survive European winters without central heating? The truth is brutal and brilliant. They were forgotten engineers of warmth. In this finale of our 100 Fact series, we'll unpack 10 genius survival tricks for heat. From turning livestock into living radiators to bouncing firelight off polished metal reflectors for a 30% heat boost, these are solutions you could copy today, no wires required. Ready to get warm the old way? Archaeologists and building historians have documented dwellings that kept indoor temperatures around 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 21 degrees Celsius in winter, accomplished with design, placement, and clever use of mass rather than modern HVAC. Thick envelope walls, controlled air movement, and thermal storage turned cold stone boxes into slow-breathing heaters that evened out day-night swings. In practice, that meant fewer cold snaps after the fire died, and far less condensation that would rot timbers. The house itself became part furnace, part thermal battery. This isn't myth or nostalgic fantasy. It's a sober measurement of how well passive strategies can work when a whole structure participates in heating. Far from fumbling in the dark, medieval households were world-class optimizers of comfort per unit of fuel. Much of that practical science was sidelined by the Industrial Revolution's plug-and-burn convenience, but the physics never stopped working. The core lesson: if you master mass, air, and radiation, you can buy 70 degrees Fahrenheit with sweat and know-how instead of sockets. And those same rules still cut modern bills when you apply them to bricks and drywall today. And of course, if a house is a heater, its heart matters most. Let's go to the fire itself. Medieval main rooms often put the hearth at the literal center of life, not tucked in a corner. That choice wasn't sentimental. It maximized radiant coverage so bodies and surfaces around it drank heat more evenly. Around and under that fire sat thermal mass, hearthstones, plinths, flagstones that soaked up energy by day and bled it back for hours after flame died. Even benches and low walls were positioned to charge all afternoon, then serve back warmth while people ate and slept. The layout was furniture choreography for heat. The masonry as a giant hot water bottle without the water. It absorbs high, spiky heat into the slow, generous rhythm of stone. People sat with backs to warmed blocks. Benches were built over heat-soaked platforms. Even low walls became friendly radiators. Good builders tuned the mass so evening embers still meant midnight comfort. If the fire roared briefly for cooking, the stone smoothed that spike into a long, gentle curve of comfort. That's why the room stayed friendly even when weather flipped in an hour. But heat is only half the story. What about the smoke? Medieval homes made even that work double duty. Many homes let smoke thread upward slowly through rafters and thatch instead of whisking it away instantly in a tight flue. The haze deterred insects from timbers and helped cure meats and fish hung on poles, acting as an airborne preservative and biocide. Soot also sealed thatch from moisture, extending roof life in wet climates. To modern noses, it's pungent. To medieval households, it was insurance. Rather than waste, smoke was retained and managed. Vents, louvers, and deliberate gaps bled it off at the roof so people below could breathe, while beams above stayed bug-averse and dry. Houses were not sterile, they were strategically smoky, turning a byproduct into an asset for food safety and timber longevity. And because smoke rose, sleeping lofts were placed just below the ceiling where air had cleared but warmth still pooled. That vertical zoning gave each family member a preferred thermal niche. Of course, one hearth can't do everything. When heat demand spiked, villages answered together with a flame that never slept. Across colder regions, communities maintained round-the-clock village fires in dedicated warming houses. These were social hubs, kitchens, and energy banks in one, pooling labor and fuel where it was most efficient. Rotating families kept the coals alive. Travelers, the elderly, and the sick had somewhere reliably warm when private fires failed. In storms or famine, the warming house became the backup plan that kept a village from freezing. Shared heat beats redundant heat. Instead of 10 stoves barely coping, one big well-tended blaze did the job, with less wood and steadier output. People cooked kettles for many at once. Artisans warmed hands to work. News moved as easily as warmth. In winter, the warming house was infrastructure as vital as a well, and importantly, embers from that central fire reseated home hearths every morning, saving tinder and time. It was energy cooperation long before that phrase existed. But you couldn't carry the village hearth with you unless you shrank it to pocket size. Enter medieval personal heating. Medieval folks invented mobile warmth, heated stones in cloth, and vented metal braziers, little perforated spheres or boxes, packed with embers that slipped into sleeves, muffs, or sat beneath a cloak. Wealthy owners flaunted silver or gilt versions. Most people used iron or brass. Warmed pebbles went into boots and bedding. Larger hand stoves rode under carts to keep food soft. Markets didn't shut in frost. People brought the heat along. These weren't toys. They enabled work, prayer, and travel in biting cold scribe fingers stayed nimble. Market sellers endured. Night watch kept feeling in their hands. Fire was miniaturized into safe, carryable packets that extended human capability outdoors and in unheated corners. Used with care on stone thresholds and church pews, they also prevented chill-related aches that could sideline laborers. A tiny ember box could save a day's wages, yet the smartest heaters didn't burn at all. They mooed. Time to meet the original bioradiators. A single cow sheds roughly 1,000 BTU, hour about a small space heater just by being alive. Medieval farmhouses exploited that by planning shared walls between living quarters and byres, usually on the north side to block winds. Heat from animals drifted through thick masonry, lifting the temperature of the main room by roughly 10 degrees Fahrenheit without burning an extra stick. The byre acted like a warm buffer that blunted icy gusts before they reached the family's beds. Add stack effect and smart ventilation, and you got warmth without stench. Odors rose and vented high, while walls drank the gentle, constant animal heat. In deep winter, families sometimes slept in lofts above the byre, letting warm air stratify upward like a poor man's radiant floor. Manure, meanwhile, composted in pits, releasing a little extra heat, and later feeding fields another closed loop of warmth and food. Every creature's calorie became a household asset twice. Walls can pass heat, but they can also bounce it. That's where medieval optics meet the hearth. Householders learned that polished copper or brass plates placed behind and around flames reflect radiant heat back into the room like mirrors for warmth. Bright metal doesn't make new energy. It redirects what would have soaked into masonry or vanished up and out. Reproductions and lab tests on similar setups show room warmth gains up to 30% with no extra fuel. Even simple tin-polished firebacks turned blackened fireplaces into brighter, hotter companions. Some wealthy interiors even silver-washed sections of wall to supercharge reflectivity where soot wouldn't quickly dull. Think gleam behind sconces, bright panels near hearth surrounds, and firebacks that turned red glow into useful infrared. Radiant comfort is about what skin sees as much as what air contains. The mirrors made sure your skin saw more heat. Paired with whitewashed plaster, rooms felt brighter and warmer at once, cutting smoke and wood demand together. And when it was time to sleep, they preheated not just rooms, but the bed itself. Before electric blankets, there were bed warmers. Lidded pans of hot coals on long handles drawn between sheets to banish cold linen shock. Used carefully and briefly, they lifted mattress temperatures 20-25 degrees Fahrenheit for a couple of hours, enough to ease someone into sleep while the room's slower masses took over. Households developed safety rituals, quick passes, pan kept moving, and storage on stone when done. Families paired this with stone pigs, heated soapstone blocks, wrapped in cloth and tucked at the feet, a slow burn of comfort till dawn. Warm nightcaps and woolen socks did the rest. Sleep is a thermal game, and medieval households stacked edges until night felt survivable. On illness nights, warmers eased chills and joint pain, adding a tiny medical benefit where doctors were scarce. Comfort counted as care. And those grand beds with curtains? They weren't just for drama, they were physics and fabric. A canopy bed with thick curtains creates a microclimate, cutting drafts and trapping body heat. Close the drapes, and you've built a human-scaled tent where exhalations accumulate and fabrics radiate back what you give. Measurements on period rooms and faithful replicas show interior bed spaces running up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the surrounding chamber. Even a single heavy canopy could make an unheated stone room feel private and kind. It's elegantly low-tech. Anchor posts to floor and ceiling, wrap with wool or heavy linen, and give sleepers a place to defeat convective loss. Add a fur or feather tick, and small children, elders, and the infirm survive nights that would defeat a bare mattress in a big stone room. Families sometimes layered inner and outer curtains for extra still air, tailoring warmth like clothing. The bed became a personalized climate zone. Finally, seal the envelope from the top and let the sun help from the south. Roofing and orientation finish the heat puzzle. A deep thatch roof, often up to 2 feet thick, is an outstanding insulator, slashing heat loss compared to many rigid coverings. Its layered stems trap air, shed water, and muffle wind. Properly maintained, it performs like a natural high-R blanket over the house. Below, thick stone or earthen walls hold daytime warmth and release it when frost bites. The result is a calm interior climate that rides past brief cold snaps with barely a shiver. Builders played the sun too. Southern exposures got the most glass or shuttered openings. Massive walls and slate floors drank winter rays at low angles. Long eaves and deciduous plantings managed summer gain. It's medieval passive solar, by another name. Orientation, mass, and shade, doing quiet calculus so rooms sit bright and amiable when wood piles run low. Even window seats were positioned to catch sun in winter and stay shaded in summer comfort, designed season by season. Put it all together, mass, smoke, community, mirrors, beasts, beds, and roofs, and you get a civilization that heated stone with brains instead of breakers.